I practice proactive health from the inside out. Whereas like,
Mm,
nutrients, vitamins, all that kind of stuff, sleep, like the outside is just a byproduct of what I'm doing for the inside. And going through pancreatitis and having that, major ulcer and stuff like that, realizing that your insides can and will fail long before you start seeing effects on the outside. It's like I'm trying to take care of the insides, like,
yeah.
and then like I said, the outside's a byproduct of that, and yeah, and that's why, like, for me, I would never put anything illegal in my body just because I don't want those shortcuts. I feel like every shortcut comes with consequences and
Mhm.
repercussions. And like the mental health side of it, like, I know a lot of guys and girls who do steroids, and more power to them. If they want to do it, then for sure. But I will not. Like, I've worked way too hard, and I'm working way too hard every day on my mental health to compromise it for anything. Like,
Yeah.
if it takes, and I'm thankfully in a good place physically, where I'm, just in a good maintenance place. But like, yeah, I'm not going to compromise anything that's like side effect is anxiety. I'm like, get the hell out of here. Like, I get enough of that on my own. Like, I don't need to add any more of that. And
Right.
I don't want, delts up to here, but whatever. But again,
And no neck.
yeah, exactly.
Super
And
square jaw. Yeah.
acne and covering your back and your
Yeah.
like,
No sex life. Like, yeah, there's
man,
a lot of
and
price to pay for that kind of body.
roid raging too. I've been around some people who just roid rage. Like, they just flip on a dime. Like, just it's like, what are you doing? Like, what? And they can't help it. You're like, oh, sorry. I'm like, sorry, get the hell away from me. Like,
Yeah.
how would you, like, you just go figure your stuff out. Like, you're just like a, fuse ready to blow, like a lit
Yeah.
fuse. But hey, to each their
Well,
own.
well, like you said, I think it's just I mean, for sure it's a product of an addict, but also of today's times where you just want the quick result. I mean, we even
That's
see
it.
that in drug rehab, even with insurance paying for drug rehab. They don't want to pay for long-term residential effective care. They want to pay for, let me put you on some supplemental pills to replace the pills that you've been taking, but
Right.
they're legal. So now you're sober, which makes no sense. And
Right.
that's the cheapest, easiest, fastest way for someone to think they're handling their addiction. But really, they've done nothing to handle that trauma, like we talked about, reverse those patterns, change those habits. Like they're just swapping out one addiction for the other, but now they're being told by society that they're sober and they're doing the right thing, but really
Right.
they're just feeding big pharma and they're just getting that quick fix instead of doing the work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. And again, it's easier. Like, it's that easy button. Like you
Right.
said, like the way you started, it's that easy button.
Yeah.
And it's, like you said, big pharma, they thrive off of that. And that's the path they're always going to go down, because they're called big pharma for a reason, because they're it's a massive industry. And
It is.
we as people are just, little decimal numbers to them. We're just like little whatever in there. So yeah, I get it. And it's hard though. It's hard to face that trauma. It's hard to, like,
Mhm.
really, like, say, okay, I'm gonna look this stuff in the eye, and I'm gonna, like I said, for me, it was just like 15 years of stuff was just
Yeah.
closing, like, just came tumbling in on me, and I didn't have a substance or anything to fall back on it, like, for the first time in my life. But it's what I had to do, and bear down, and yeah, just thankful I did. I came to the realization when I did, and yeah, so what's worked for me. So
Well, I think it's a beginning, right? Because for me, what I've learned is it's a lifelong journey. So,
yes,
I've been doing this a long time. I've handled every aspect, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not more layers to that onion, deeper stuff to now you can see, now you can look at, now you can confront, now you can deal with, now you can handle. Like it is for me, a constant learning process through layers. And I think, I'll probably be working on myself my entire life. And that's
oh,
why I
for
like
sure,
being around people who are like-minded in that manner, because it's not like, oh, I fixed that, I'm done, I'm good for the rest of my life. It's like,
yeah,
no, no, no. There's so much stuff that comes in that triggers old stuff that you thought you had handled.
yeah.
And there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, it's so true. And one of the big things that I've learned recently within the last 12 months, and the reason why I'm doing podcasts now and talking about it, is forgiveness, and like genuine forgiveness
Mm,
to myself. Like, so I look at it this way, like, okay, did I make a bunch of mistakes and go down the wrong path? Yes, I did. But I was trying the best with what I had. I didn't have the tools that I have now, and hindsight's 2020 and stuff like that. I was trying. I was really trying. And I forgive myself for that. I can't get the time back, can't get the money back. I wish I could get the money back because that's a
Right.
lot of money. But I forgive myself for that. And I genuinely forgive myself for that. And then the stuff that's happened in my life that I didn't ask for, like the, losing my mom or the sexual assault thing, like, I forgive myself for that as well, because those are unfortunate facts of life that have happened. And it's just the way it is. So I could now go forward and actually like with forgiveness. And I never thought I would ever I didn't tell my therapist when I first started working. I didn't tell her about the eating disorder or the sexual assault, because I was like, that's not manly. That's embarrassing. Like
Yeah.
that's whatever. But now I'm like, I'm at a point where I'm like, yeah, like whatever. It's what I went through and it's what I've been through. And I can, look at it, and the support has been overwhelmingly positive. And I can, proudly say that, yeah, okay, I went through that. I made some mistakes, like I said, but I forgive myself. And, a lot of times, as people do, like we're so outwardly nice to people. And, I've gone through phases where I was pretty miserable. So misery loves company. But for the most part, I was raised to be polite and well mannered. But I'd look in the mirror and be like, oh, you're a piece of shit. And you're a
Mm.
loser and you're failing at life. And you're always going to be that way. And until we start to like really talk to ourselves in a different way and say, hey, you're doing well, but keep up the work and keep going. And not, like you said, it's not like, oh, you got it. Okay, you're done now. Cool. Like check. I
Yeah.
mean, then it's a constant learning, growing. And then again,
Mm.
like, so that's why I love having these conversations and meeting people like yourself, because it's just adding more tools to the tool chest and like new ideas and stuff like that. It's great.
Well, negative self-talk is so insidious. Like I'm even guilty of it and I don't realize it till I'll verbalize it. And somebody will say like, dude, would you talk to someone you cared about that way?
Yeah.
And I'm like, never, I would never do that. They're like, so why is it okay for you to talk to yourself that way? I'm like,
Yeah.
let me look at that, because
Yeah.
it is insidious. It's part of our normal thinking patterns that we don't even realize that we have become our own worst enemies,
Yes.
and making ourselves play small and thinking we're a lot less than we are, as a survival or whatever reasons we do it for. But becoming aware of that inner dialogue is so important. And sometimes it needs to be pointed out. It's not obvious.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I always say too that like our brains are either our greatest asset or our biggest enemies. And we have to constantly work to, pull it towards the good side and watch it from the bad side. And it's a constant thing, but it's something we have to do, and it's so worth it. But you're right. It's like, yeah, we would never go out and say the things that we've said to ourselves, like to somebody else, like ever. Like,
Ever.
and but we're sitting there saying it to ourselves on a daily basis and thinking it on a like I mean, I remember any thousands of times a day that we had those thoughts. Like it's like, wow. And then realizing that, okay, I need to turn this around and I need to actually believe it. Cause that's a big thing too with addiction is like,
Mm.
oh, I'm not ready to quit. People are like, yeah, maybe you should slow down on smoking weed. I'm like, yeah, maybe you should go fuck yourself. Like, like I can stop whenever I want. Like, and maybe you should just mind your own business and like take a long walk off a short pier. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's that realization when I finally came to the realization for myself with each of the substances and stuff like that, that enough was enough. And yeah, I needed things like that to happen and then decide for myself. Same with the negative self-talk. We need to like really, it's nice. It's encouraging to hear things and to hear it like you said, somebody saying to you, like, would you say that to somebody else? But until we finally buy into it and we really believe it and we can start to, put it forward and bring it back this way,
Yeah.
it becomes a real thing and it changes everything. So
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there can be an element of fake it till you make it, where it's like, oh no, no, you're badass, until
yeah,
you can actually start to feel it too. I think there is something to positivity, but there has to be the belief there, or else it's just like wasted words. Like I listen to
yeah,
Dr. Joe Dispenza a lot, and it's about creating your reality as if it already exists. And I've tried it, and in some respects, I'm like, my brain knows that's not real. So I mean, I know you're telling
right.
me to convince myself it's real, but I actually know it's not real. So I've kind of like struggled with that sort of aspect about that sort of thing. But again, that's kind of the fun of just sort of experimenting and trying all these different things and what works for you and what feels right and what is right. And actually now I actually do feel that way. It is real, but it took a long time for me to get here.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's like people, I pride myself on always being on time, and I'm very like punctual. That's something I learned. Like, but
Mm.
I people have told me like, oh, I set my clock ahead 10 minutes to fool myself. And I'm like, I would just look at my clock and be like, that's 10 minutes ahead. like,
I used
like
to do
what?
that. That was my whole childhood. I
Did you
always
really?
did that. That's so funny.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel like I just feel like I got an extra 10 minutes and I need to change that clock.
Yeah.
Like it's, but no, you're right. It's
Yeah.
what works for us. And we are all so individual as our fingerprints. You know, we are as individual,
Mm.
and we can learn things. That's all. Whenever people come to me, and I'm always humbled when people come to me knowing what I've been through with mental health and addiction, all kind of stuff. And they come to me and ask, and I like, what do you do? What's your first step? And I was like, your first step should be going to talk to a medical professional, because I'm
Mm.
not a medical professional. I can tell you the things that I've done anecdotally and the things that have worked for me, but they might not necessarily work for you. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm going to diagnose or whatever. I just like, if you can afford it, and I know a lot of people can't, and that's a really unfortunate thing, but go talk to a medical professional. And yeah, I can tell you things that I've done and things that helped me, and we can have conversations and stuff, but you need to figure out like for yourself what works, what doesn't work. And that's trial and error. That's what
Mhm.
we've gone through our life doing. Like,
Mhm.
and that's we hopefully learn from our mistakes. And sometimes it takes you know, too many,
Good
too
times.
many, too many mistakes and to finally get it. But hey, if we finally get it, and I also believe too that everything happens for a reason, even if it's, the most awful thing that's happening in your life, like my mom passing away.
Yeah.
There's, you have to feel it, you have to own it, just really absorb it and take that time with it, but then look at it and be like, okay, how do I move forward with this? And how does it change me into, or to make me a better person? Or, what's the message here? Like, whatever, like what is the message? And yeah, I feel the same way about mistakes. I don't spend too much time browbeating myself thinking like, oh, way to go, you fucked up again. It's like, okay, I made a mistake. Like, what am I going to learn here? Or if there's
Yeah.
a problem, it's like, hey, what's the solution? That didn't work. Okay, what's the second solution? That didn't work. Cool. What's the next solution? Keep going. Instead of just sitting there and be like, I've got a problem. Oh no.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I think it's important.
Well, I think so many people just give up. They don't persevere through stuff because, it's hard or it hurts or they don't know what the outcome is going to be. And for me, that's like my superpower. It's like I don't ever know how shit's going to turn out, but I've realized that God or source has always had my back. And as long as I'm doing the right things and
Totally.
I keep pushing forward, I've always been taken care of. And so there's
Yeah.
this like blind, almost just trust that in myself, but also that I'm being cared for because I'm doing the right things. And that's given me in this last year a lot of peace because
Yeah.
I was
That's awesome.
really struggling with the whole loss and impermanence and letting go. And there's a lot that goes with that I went through the last few years, and then just coming back to center and realizing, man, that's part of life. Like we are
Yeah.
always losing and gaining and changing, and you just got to adapt, like pivot. I hate that word. I mean, it became very big, in the pandemic, but pivoting is the key to everything. Nothing is permanent and forever. So you just got to be willing to move whatever way you need to move to keep moving forward.
Yeah. It's very true. We're as human beings, we're adaptable. And we have to adapt and change. And that's one of the great things about working out is like, if you keep working on something, your body says, oh, we're doing this now, like, oh, we need to adapt and
Yeah.
put some more muscle there or whatever to be able to do what we're doing now. And we are very adaptable with the right mindset, with I mean, it comes back to mindset, right? And you're right, it is pivoting. And it's a constant learning thing. And the moment you think you know it all, you're the smartest person in the room, is the moment you get left in the dust.
Yeah, I've
Like,
never thought that.
no. I mean, I thought that when I was like 18. I was like, you need the answer? Like, I got it. Like,
Yeah.
you got a question, like I'm your guy. And then the
Yeah.
older I get, the more it's like, I just want to learn, absorb, keep learning,
Yeah.
make mistakes. I love when I make mistakes or I'm wrong, because it means I learned something new that day.
Yeah.
It's like, that's awesome. Like, I love those things. And yeah, we can never stop learning, really never stop learning and growing and developing, and just, yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
So, that's the important thing to remember for sure. But
Yeah.
that's life, the wonderful thing called life, you
It
know?
is. Do you find that people get like I realize you don't go out a lot, but when you do people get uncomfortable around you? Like, because I've noticed for myself that I become somewhat of a mirror. Like people feel justified in telling me why they're drinking, why they're doing this, why. And I'm like, dude, I don't
Yeah,
care. I have no judgment just because of what I do. There's no judgment for me, but it almost, I want to say, puts people on blast where they become very defensive of their own stuff where it has nothing to do with you. Do you find that you've become a mirror to people sometimes?
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. At first it was like, oh, why aren't you drinking? And then I had to tell my whole story. And that like got to like, oh, why don't you drink? And I'm like, I'm a recovering alcoholic. Like,
Mm.
oh, okay. That shuts people up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I have no problem being around it. And I'm like, oh, have fun. Like, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
drunk people can be extremely annoying, but then there's some people who can be really fun to be around. But yeah, you're right. I do see that. I did see that happening a lot. Like, and I can go out and if there's something going on, and I have no problem, going to be a part of the team or, somebody's birthday or something like that. But yeah, I did notice that for a while and,
Yeah.
get a lot of people like, oh, I think I'm going to take next month off drinking. I'm like, cool, man. Like, if you
Yeah.
think you want to, like, I'm not challenging you or telling you you have to, but yeah, you do see that for sure.
Yeah.
But I've also seen like the, people look at and like I'm always very humbled and appreciative when people look at and they're like, you know what, I think I'm going to try it. And I've had a number of good friends
Mhm.
who've come to their own sense, like their own not senses, but just they've decided for themselves that the sobriety is what they want, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just sobriety from alcohol, and they can still dabble in weed or whatever, and they're living a very healthy life, and come to me or looked at what I'm doing and seen, and yeah, like I said, it's very humbling when somebody comes and asks you questions or kind of is curious and lets down their guard and that kind of stuff, and I'm always happy to help, but I'm not judging. I'm not whatever. I'm not expecting you to like, but like you said, that mirroring kind of thing, like it happens for sure.
It
For sure.
does.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're similar to me, where people listen because you're leading from the front. What does your routine look like on a daily basis to build or have what you've created physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally?
Like my daily routine is I live a big thing for me is living very clean. Like
Mhm.
I'm not OCD, and I don't like when people use that term because I know it's a very serious medical like a mental it's a condition that people deal with, like anxiety, depression, that ruins people's lives. I like to live very cleanly. It helps with my anxiety. I like to be very scheduled.
Mm,
Um, I don't, like I said, I don't weigh my food or count my macros, but I know how to put together my healthy meals and stuff like that. I have to be physically active at least once a day, whether that's going to the gym or playing hockey or doing both. I know my limits and I know where I'm at. I'm much more of a morning person than I am an eating a night person. A night owl. I, like to get up first thing in the morning, make my bed. Like, I have to do that and,
yeah.
feed my dog and get all my vitamins ready and all that kind of stuff. Like I'm just very like just routine that way, and that puts my mind at peace for
Mm,
me, like to have those kinds of routines. And I can get out, like I can get out of it for the right reasons. Like if I'm traveling or something like that, like I'm not like freaking out because I'm not in my routine. I think I'm a big believer in life happens outside of your comfort zone, and
yeah.
but also there's something to be said for having our comfort zones and to being in our routines and knowing what we need to feel healthy. So yeah, for me, it's just, every day is kind of different too, because doing with modeling, your phone could ring every day for 2 weeks and then you could, not get a call for 2 months. And,
Mm.
so it's very different that way. And then
And you have to take full advantage when that phone rings, right? Because you
of
won't
course,
know if it rings again or when it's going to ring again. So you just got to go.
yeah. And if you're not there, you don't get paid. It's like, it's
Yeah.
not, they're not going to pay you for the idea of you showing up and, putting on clothes. It's like, you have to be there and you have to go.
Yeah.
So that changes a lot too. And that gets me out of my routine too. But I come to accept that. And, I like that, like that part of it. Yeah, like I said, I'm just trying to like live my life and do what I know is the best for me and have like I said, my little routines here and there. And I just enjoy eating healthy. I like to, I love my little dog here and
What
spending
is your
time with
little
her.
dog? What kind of little dog is this?
She's a English Bulldog Beagle. Her name's
Oh,
Bailey. She's a wonderful little,
oh my God.
I mean, she's little. I mean, she's 50 pounds. She's a medium-sized dog.
Yeah, that's
Um,
not little.
yeah, but she saved my
Wow.
life. Like I made
Mm.
when I was in my deepest, darkest, whether it was addiction or coming out of addiction with, she absolutely saved my life more than she knows. And she's making eye contact with me, looking right at me.
Oh,
But like
so she's older.
yeah, she's 10 years old.
Okay.
She just turned, should be, I guess she's 10 and a half, whatever. But there's so many times when I would just lock myself in my house. And when I got her, I made a promise to her that I'm going to take as good a care as I can and be there for her. And whether I was freaking out with anxiety or high as a kite on Adderall and weed or whatever, I had to get out of my house to take her out because
Mhm.
I made that promise to her. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm going to do that. And even the positive aspect, like the days after I got sober, it was just dread, consistent like dread, and everything was negativity. And I had to rebuild. And just seeing her do something goofy just for a second, would just
Yeah.
kind of like perk me up. And I would just feel like, oh, I'm going to focus on that, like that positivity. And I'm a big believer in trying to focus on the positive and,
Yeah.
understanding the negative, but like trying not to dwell on it. It's a natural thing that we do because it's a survival mechanism, right? We don't want to like make the same mistakes, but we do it to an extent where it then becomes depression and
Or we don't want to get our
whatever.
hopes up because, we're going to just get let down. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And then, not to get too dark, but there were so many times when I was like, I can't beat this. I'm just going to take the easy way out. I'm just going to call it quits. And, there she is, just, me and her. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like
No way.
it's her, it's other people in my life. There's so many things. So yeah, she's been a wonderful little helper more than she ever will know. And she's
Yeah.
spoiled and she deserves it. So,
Absolutely. Like I have little dogs. I have miniature huskies,
oh,
and I've always
cute.
had two, but they are my reason, to be home. And
Yeah.
my one, he's like 3 now, Sim. He is just full of life. Like he doesn't care if it's raining, snowing, storming.
No.
I need my freaking walks, and you're gonna go do it. And it's been such a blessing because I'm like, all right, I'm going outside and doing my walks. But
Yeah.
it's just such a good environment. And then even like you said, when I've going through whatever I'm going through, he's right there licking my tears, or he's, right
Hmm.
there looking at me like, it's going to be okay. It's just my savior. And for like you, when I travel around a lot, my routine gets a little disoriented. And after the pandemic, I loved it. I'm like, get me out. I'm going to travel as much as I can because
Yeah.
who knows
Yeah.
if this is going to stop again. But
Yeah.
coming home is always the best. And now I'm struggling wanting to leave home because it's such a beautiful environment that I've created. I'm like, damn, okay, I
Yeah.
know I shouldn't need to go do this stuff, but I really like my home base. It's such a comforting place, especially with the dogs.
Yeah. No, same. I'm big. If I let you into my home, like into my space, then it means that you're somebody like important to me. Like I really cherish it. And I've heard there are a couple of great quotes about dogs that I love and I live by is
Hmm.
I love my dog because or sorry, yeah, I love my dog because it's the only one that treats me like I'm the Beatles every time I come home. And you can just
Totally.
you leave for five
Totally.
minutes, you just go to check the mail, you come back, you're like,
Oh
what?
my
You're
God,
back?
you're there.
Like, oh
It's
my
true.
God.
It's so unconditional and so enthusiastic. It's like, damn, dude, okay.
It is for sure. And the other one is
Mm.
try and be the person your dog thinks you are. Because
Oh,
I mean, you see homeless people with dogs, you see whatever, and they're like, it could be a homeless person. They're like, this guy's doing pretty well.
yeah,
This guy's
yeah,
got it figured out.
totally.
And, our dogs look up to us and they look up to us and they really like are like, you are killing it, man. And they are the absolute definition of living in the present.
Yeah,
Like you see dogs who unfortunately like they lose a leg for some reason and stuff, and they don't feel sorry for themselves. The other dogs don't treat them any differently. They just go, like they just adapt, and it becomes like
yeah,
it's so incredible to watch animals and how they are just so present. And she's in her routine as well, and like just seeing it, it's an incredible energy to have around you.
yeah.
It's a very big reminder of looking at and just seeing like it's yeah, it's fantastic there. I love dogs.
Yeah.
Just love.
Well, And the oxytocin they release, right? Like when you pet them, you get as much out of it as they get out of being petted. So it's like this
Yeah.
insane, like all in symbiotic relationship that you have, that the more you give, the more you get, which is
Yeah.
super cool too. Cause you don't always get that from humans. So with humans,
No.
there's baggage and conditions and
Yeah.
situations and life, and dogs, like you said, they're none of that. They don't care about any of that stuff.
Yeah, they're the fake people who are one way to your face, and they're like, "What can I get out of you?" And then there's all that all that kind of stuff. And there's the narcissist, and there's all that kind of, and
Oh,
it's like
yeah. And the
it
victims and the, yeah. Oh, yeah. All of
you
it.
name it, man. It's
Yeah.
like, and if a dog likes you, they like you. If they don't, they don't. Like it's just, it is what it
Yeah.
is. And like it's you, yeah, what you see is what you get. They don't
Oh,
have
yeah.
a they don't trick, they don't play games, they don't like any of that kind of stuff. It's like you said, it's such a
Yeah.
symbiotic, like wonderful relationship that we have with them. And yeah, I'm a big believer in having pets. And but for me, it's I'm a dog guy.
Yeah. Well, and if your dog doesn't like somebody, or a dog doesn't like somebody, I'm like, they're on to
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
I trust their intuition on this.
Yeah. I'm like, what's wrong with
Mm.
you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I for sure, because they
Yeah.
can absolutely sense, like it's incredible what they can do. And like, yeah, that's funny you say that because it's very true. It's
Yeah.
very true. Bailey's, you have to work hard. My dog's name is Bailey, but you have to work really hard for Bailey's affection. She's not just like a love
Mm.
everybody kind of person. Like once she decides that she likes you a lot, but she's not everybody's friend. Like she's a great guard dog. She doesn't make
Yeah.
any noise unless there's something to be alerted to. And yeah, like somebody comes in the house, she's not growling at them or anything like that, but like you got to earn her trust and her respect and stuff. And I like that about her, that she's
Yeah.
not just like, some dogs are just like the robber comes in with the ski
Yeah. Like
mask. They're
golden
like,
retrievers. They're like, come
yeah,
on in.
I
Let me
was
show
just gonna
you
say,
everything.
yeah, like you're gonna throw the ball? Like that's a cool hat you're
Yeah,
wearing. Like,
thanks.
yeah.
It's true. Mine are
You know,
very discerning as well. And I'm like, thank God. Because if they liked everybody, like, what's the point
yeah.
of you being their owner? So I appreciate a discerning dog as well.
Yeah. I feel like those dogs like could just get passed on to one to the other and stuff. And like I'm sure they're wonderful dogs and all that kind of stuff, but it's like,
Great for
you're
kids.
gonna feed me, yeah, you're gonna throw the ball. Like, great. What was that guy's name I used to live with? Like, yeah, whatever. Like, let's just go. So yeah, it's
It's
fascinating that
true.
way. It's yeah, I mean they're great to have around and great to learn from and to gain and like you said, just give them the best life possible because they deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just can't understand how people can be mean or
Oh,
cruel to
uh,
animals or children. I don't understand how you could ever do that.
yeah. That's probably
It's
one of my biggest hates in the world, is anybody that can harm an animal almost more than a human. I mean, minus
yeah,
kids, but like you said,
yeah,
kids and animals, like if there's any harm there to the people that,
yeah,
need us to survive, that is like the worst betrayal. I hate
yeah,
it.
yeah. It is. It
Yeah.
truly is. It says that that person is an absolute piece of shit, and
Mm.
karma, whatever, something, whatever they get, like they deserve tenfold. Like they say I heard something recently, or it's been going around the internet or whatever. It's like, if you're one of those people who said that you would like kill somebody if they harm your dog, like that means you value human life over your dog's life. And I'm like, oh yeah, like no question. Like if
Yep.
somebody's trying to hurt my dog and I like came down to them or like her or them, I'm like, yeah, of course. Like
Easy.
not even in question. Like
Yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely I would. I
Yeah.
would do whatever possible, whatever it took to protect her. And like, yeah, those people who say that or don't agree with that, just they don't understand.
Yeah. Well, and that makes those are those people that I never will develop a relationship with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I take it even to like I go rucking because I have a national forest in my backyard. So I'll go rucking
Nice.
like yesterday in the rain. Nobody's out there. It's just me and my dogs, which is beautiful because there's just no distractions. I can be present. I'm enjoying.
Yeah.
And but then my thought is like, what if somebody attacked me? And I'm not even worried for myself. I'm like, I'm worried for my dogs who would try to
Yeah.
defend me. And what if something happened to them? And so I'm like, okay, I need to
Yeah.
be smarter about this. And it was just like so unconditionally selfless that it was actually a beautiful moment for myself to realize that, my own life is not as important to me as theirs, which is weird.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's very true.
Mm. All
But
right.
it's a
So
wonderful thing.
you want to do a couple quick rapid fire questions? I just have a
Would
few
love to.
questions.
Yeah,
Do
of
you
course,
love
absolutely.
Nickelback?
I respect Nickelback. So I respect what they've done. They're a good Canadian band. I respect what they've done. I know they get a bad rap.
They do.
They've had some bangers, some absolute like, some stuff you can sing along to.
Yeah.
They get a lot of hate and a lot of like, but I'd say I respect them.
Okay.
I respect them. I don't have a love or hate relationship. I don't hate anything in my life, but I can respect what they've done.
Okay. Good. Do you love poutine?
Yeah, I do love poutine.
What's your
I
favorite one? It's so weird to me. It's like all this gravy and it's like on top of carbs. It's just,
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
haven't eaten it in forever. Like, because even
Mm,
before I left, I wasn't eating it just because I wasn't enjoying it as much. And they've come up with all these different kind of flavors and stuff. Like since I've stopped eating it, now they have like butter chicken poutine and like
oh,
chili cheese.
wow.
Like, so I'm just a classic, just French fries, cheese curds, gravy kind of guy. But I love it. I can't remember the last time I had it. I couldn't tell you the last time I had it. It was years before I left Canada, but there's a special place in my heart for poutine.
Okay, good. What's your favorite lift? If you're in the gym and you get a just do one lift, it's your favorite one. What is it?
Great question. It's funny because I was talking to my friend the other day and like, I've been on this fitness journey and taking fitness seriously for, 16 years or whatever. And like thinking about like, the fundamentals like bench, lats, like lat pull downs, shoulder raises, like think about the hundreds of thousands of repetitions we've done of these things,
Mm,
like the fundamental stuff. My favorite, I would always say I usually start with bench. Like
mm.
I
Such a
just
dude exercise.
it is, but I
Yeah.
love the variation, dumbbell bench. I mean, all that kind of stuff, like incline, like all that kind of thing. Like I would say bench, but it has to be all the variations of it. Um, yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say that.
That's awesome. Do you love maple syrup?
Yes, absolutely.
You have to.
I
It's
have
like in your
two,
blood, right?
I have two bottles of like their commemorative maple syrup sitting over
No
there
way.
between my bookcases. But one of them's a maple leaf shaped bottle, and the other one's like a CN Tower shaped bottle, the tallest building in Canada. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, I do. I don't ingest it as much anymore. And when I do, I'll have the sugar-free stuff, but real Canadian maple syrup, like in the wintertime when you go to like a maple sugar shack and they pour it on the snow and you use like a popsicle to pick it up and
What? That's a
yeah,
thing
yeah, and it's fantastic. It's
on
like,
snow.
yeah, they'll pour
So
it
it's
right
like
on
a
the snow.
popsicle.
Yeah, they pour it right on the snow. It cools. You get it becomes kind of like a taffy. You get like a popsicle stick, you roll it up, and it's just like a pure maple sugar, like right from the sugar shack kind of thing. Yeah, it's fantastic.
That sounds glorious,
Yeah,
especially if you were to put it on bacon. I love maple and bacon. What a
yeah,
combo.
I know. What a combo.
Okay. Do you like Canadian bacon? Do you prefer Canadian bacon over regular bacon?
I do for sure. Yeah,
Ah,
like true. Like I find regular bacon to be very salty and I
mhm,
like it, but I'm not obsessed with it as everybody else is. Like true pea meal Canadian bacon is just like a much milder flavor. I would prefer it. It's not as greasy. It reminds me of, my childhood and stuff like that.
mhm.
So yeah, I would definitely say like I said, I find bacon to be very salty and I could do with or without it. If I don't, I never have it in my house and stuff like that, but yeah, Canadian bacon.
Okay, good. Do you like South Park's rendition of Canadian people?
That's
Because it
funny.
makes
So
me laugh so much.
yeah, when it first came out, I was like, it's like the late 90s or whatever, and I was so offended by it. Like
Yes,
I
I
remember
was wondering. Good.
I walked out of the South Park movie because they
Yeah.
were like,
You
blame
walked out?
Canada, blame, yeah. And I was like, in my late teens, like I was like with my buddy, and I was in Philadelphia at the time, going to school, and I was like, can we get out of here? Like, this is bullshit. And I was so offended. But now I love it, Terrence and Phillip and like their flappy heads and stuff. It's like,
The best and
yeah, I
Ike and
love
all
it.
of it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I love it now, but there was like a brief period where for
Yeah.
some reason I was so offended by it. Like I was just so proudly Canadian where I was like, how dare they? Like we don't like and they're drawing out. I mean, I say about and out, but they're like about and out. And I was
It's so exaggerated. It's amazing. You
yeah,
you have very little Canadian accent. I have to validate you on that. Like I don't
I
if
do.
I didn't know, I might not have picked up on it.
Yeah, it's because I've moved around so much. Like when I was
Mm,
16, I was going to school in Philadelphia and, like going to school then and like
mm.
traveling around so much, like it's changed a lot. But my outs and abouts and, especially my A's and stuff, like then people can hear it. But I have a buddy who didn't grow up very far from me, but he sounds like he's from like the north, like the Arctic Circle. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you like? Why do you sound like that? And he grew up like it's the most bizarre thing. My best friend Bobby, but yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, some people go all in with those accents and they never leave. I've seen
Yeah,
some stuff. I'm like, why is it so thick? You were there for like a year. Like, I don't get this.
yeah, for sure. But I'll
Yeah.
say y'all now. That's worked its way in my
Ah,
vernacular.
very Texan. Yep. I even say
It's
y'all now because of my son. Yeah.
it's a great little connecting word. I mean, it's like you just y'all like, you just throw it in there. It's just it's a nice little like easy word to use and like just add in
Well, and
there
it
and
doesn't
like
offend anybody, right? Because it's not you
totally.
guys, it's not
Yeah.
specific to gender. It's just
No.
a
Y'all.
legitimate, like I'm talking to more than one person sort of
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. Very, very true. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favorite kind of music?
I love all kinds of music, to be honest. I have a very eclectic. I listen to a lot of like 90s alternative,
Mm,
old punk rock, like No Effects, that kind of stuff from like my
yeah.
skateboarding days. I do listen to a lot of hip hop though, usually mostly like 90s, 2000s hip hop. Um, I'm just not a big fan of country and R&B for some reason. There's like I'll listen, I have a few R&B songs that I like, but those
Mhm.
and a couple country songs, but those are the two genres that I don't really, but I have a very eclectic like playlist. Like, it could be, just some like gangster rap like from Deep South 1 minute and then it's like, Bush or something from like the
Mm,
90s or like Oasis and like it's just kind of
yeah.
like and then it's like No Effects, Bad Religion, Rancid, like it's very eclectic. It's too hard for me to pick one.
Yeah. That's a good one. But I mean, being in Texas, I mean, don't you kind of have to like
You
country? Isn't
do,
that
yeah, and
like a
I'll
part of the territory there?
I'll be on set and they're just playing country all the time, and I don't dislike it. Like I said, it's just not something that I listen to on my own. Like it's not,
No.
I've got a couple like The Devil Went Down to Georgia. It's a classic,
Oh, that is a
I,
classic.
that I know all the words to it. Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's, it's a classic. And there's some stuff from like my childhood that I like too. But I
Yeah.
don't dislike it. Like I said, when I'm on set all day and they've got country going, I'm like, okay, we get it. Your truck's broken and your girl left you. We
That's how
get
I
it.
feel about it. It's just super
Yeah.
shallow. Like I like old school, like Johnny Cash and Hank Williams, where
Hmm.
I don't know, it seemed like there was a little more depth, but I really struggle with all the shit now. It's like, okay, I get it. You got the girl, you're gonna have sex with the girl, then she's gonna dump you, then you're gonna get drunk, then you're gonna lose your car, and then your dog's gonna get run over. Like we get
Yeah. Yeah.
it.
Johnny Cash. Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
the
I'll
best.
like, yeah.
That's like
His,
gangster, like old school
oh
country right
yeah,
there.
absolutely. I remember when he passed away or something, or it was like one of the, like a rap, I think it was Pharrell who said it. Like, nobody has more songs about like drugs and people getting killed and like that kind of stuff. Like no gangster rap comes close to what Johnny Cash like talked about
Yeah.
and the stuff that he like and his rendition of Hurt
Oh.
and is so powerful, so powerful and even Ring of Fire just gets me going.
And
I
then
love
Social
singing.
D does a great
Yeah,
rendition of that.
yeah. So there are definitely for some things that squeeze in there in those genres for sure. So
I love that. Well, if you could be so kind and let our listeners know where they could find you. I mean, are you doing coaching? Is this, the podcasting? This is just to get out and about. What are you
yeah,
doing these days?
this is so right now I'm just starting with, I mean, this I've done dozens of podcasts, but I'm, getting my story out there. I'm going to be starting my own podcast in
Mm,
the next 4 months, and that would be a pleasure if you would be a guest on that.
love that.
Um, I am big on Instagram. I love meeting people. I love connecting with people. I love, hearing from people. It's just my name, Jonathan Niziol. Same thing with TikTok and YouTube is Jonathan Niziol. My website is Jonathan Niziol Official. And same with my Facebook page, Jonathan Niziol Official. And like I said, I love meeting people and hearing from people and hearing, their stories and just connecting with and meeting new people. I don't think there's any such thing as a nobody in this world. Everybody's a somebody, and we're all just trying to make it in this world, and just the same way, and trying to get through this crazy thing called life. So,
Mm,
yeah, I love connecting with people, and yeah, if you want to connect with me, I would be more than happy to, and I look forward to it, and that's where you can find me.
awesome. Do you love TikTok? That is one I've not
I
been
haven't
able to
gotten, I
do. I
haven't.
can't. Yeah.
My social media manager is like trying to get me, and I get it, but I won't look at it for days. I don't know. Instagram feels so much more familiar to me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't I haven't gotten it yet,
No, I
but I
feel like
know it's,
TikTok is for like dancers who like just like pointing and doing shit. I don't know. I haven't
yeah,
quite figured it out. I'm like, it is just not for me. I'm too old for this shit or something. I just, it's not for me.
it's the same. I'm like, what? Like, what's going on now? Like, but yeah, I don't know. It's not my bag. So yeah, people, if you want to find me, definitely Instagram or Facebook's place to go.
Awesome. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on this show and sharing your history and what you do now and just being an inspiration for others. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's been wonderful to meet and learn about you. I hope we can stay connected. Incredible story that you have as well. And I love your mindset, and I love connecting with people who have similar mindsets as well. And yeah, I'm very appreciative to be invited on. So thank you again, and
Awesome.
keep up the good work.
Thank you.